Are you brand new to Tacticus and looking for some tips to get you started? Today we're going to blast through 15 of the best to get you off the ground. I'm going to start with tips for the battles purely because of this first tip, as I feel it's one of the most important things to know, and that's how to get through battles more quickly. When you start playing, one of the first things I would always recommend is going to the in-battle pause menu and changing the battle speed to fastest. Of course, you can play around with this yourself and find the right speed for you, but when you're playing so many battles every day, if you set it to fastest, then it'll really speed up your little mini sessions by quite a bit. It's definitely one of the most efficient changes in the game. For the other options in the in-battle pause menu, muting the sound and music will be important for those on-the-train playing moments, but also play around with turning screen shake on and off. This will stop the screen moving around so much in battles, and for anyone that suffers motion sickness, then this really is an important option. The second tip is dealing with one of the biggest threats that you'll face early on in your career, and that's Revas, because at some point you'll be playing an arena and this Tau mech warrior called Revas will appear, and the first time you play against them, if you don't know how they work, you will get absolutely torn apart by stumbling into their overwatch over and over again. Unlike most characters, Revas's overwatch doesn't just hit one of your characters and stop, it will hit all of your characters as they stumble into the 2 hexes around Revas. So how do you avoid this? Just watch for Revas's little drones appearing, which is usually on the second round if you're playing an arena, and then just stay 2 hexes away from them for the whole of that round. In the third round, the overwatch is done, and you can go kill Revas and whatever motley crew they've taken with them. Speaking of arena, there's another little tip here for when you get started and want to win more battles. If you click on this button here, you can see how far the opposition can move, and generally they will try to move up to you as close as possible. So for the first or sometimes even second rounds in a bigger match, don't do anything other than skipping your turn or maybe dropping some artillery with Thaddeus Noble. This will give you the advantage to attack first, and like the tabletop game, everybody knows that getting those first attacks in and reducing your opponent's firepower is incredibly important. So be patient and win more battles. If you're looking for the best mode to progress early, the campaign modes are the best place to get comfortable with the game. As your roster of characters develop, you will be able to push further and further through each campaign and open new campaigns as well. You will also be able to practice with any new characters you gain and see how much damage your new active and passive skills can get when you're leveling them up. But there are 3 important reasons for pushing through the campaigns. You can open up new characters by collecting character shards. You can open up new types of upgrades for leveling up your characters as you progress. But most important is to know that different campaigns have different percentage chance of getting items. And here's an example. Let's say we want to get this item. We can see that it comes from a few different places. If we go to one of those places and click on the little dice above the item, you can see that it tells you the percentage chance to get it. I've compiled all those together into an easy to check table that you can now see on screen. And you're generally looking to see what's the lowest average energy cost for each rarity of upgrade. This table might be a little bit overwhelming for you. The easy thing is this. For all type of upgrades and character shards, it's best to farm in this order. You farm the elite missions, which are better than the early Indomitus missions, which are better than the mirror missions, and finally the normal campaign missions are the worst. And of course, those are the ones you start with. So it's very important to be getting further into the campaigns as quickly as possible. What is the best mode to gain gold? Well, one of the best modes is a salvage run, which sees you collect gold, character shards from Snotflogga the Orc, and other freebies. This is a great mode to try out your different characters, but the most important thing to know is that if you time it well, then you can easily manage to get 3 or maybe even 4 of these done on a Saturday. Why is that important? Because Saturday is double gold day, and with the salvage run being one of the best places to find gold, make sure you're maximizing your gains. At some point in your career, there will be a moment where gold becomes a limited resource for you, so it's best to collect as much as you can, as early as you can. One other thing about salvage run is that it's best to push up one track as much as possible rather than doing all 3 equally. You simply get more gold per salvage run the higher you are up on one of the tracks. It's a bit tricky to recommend which track to go for, as it really depends on the machine of war that you're trying to level up first. So to start with, just pick one and drive as hard as you can on that track. While we're talking about maximizing gains, Sunday is double XP day, and that means you can level up your characters a bit more quickly. The best place to do that and to gain XP is in Arena, where you can play a lot of matches and rack up a fair bit of XP. Arena is also just a great place to collect Snapareka character shards and a lot more freebies on the side. The other important note about Arena is that you should be using characters that are not waiting to ascend. If you use them, you don't get any extra XP, so better to use your other characters there. But generally, just make sure you're playing as many games as you can in Arena and keep leveling your characters. And then, nearly every week there's a different mode popping up. It can be a character release event where you can work on gaining a brand new character, or it could be a tournament arena where you play against other players to the death. There are even legendary events where you need to build up teams over many months to be able to open amazing characters. And so the tip here is really just to make sure that you're logging in regularly to the game, because there's always something amazing going on. And with 1 or 2 new characters regularly being released each month, as well as new machines of war, you'll always have something to be working on. Talking about upgrading characters, there are actually 5 different ways that you can improve your characters. You can level up their XP by collecting and using XP tomes. This is actually only a dependency for the next 4 ways to improve your character. It does not improve your damage, survivability, or functionality of your character in any way. Basically, each of the following things can only be improved once you've got your XP at a certain level. So you can give them weapons and armor, and then you can level those. This will increase their damage and survivability. You can increase their character progression by collecting character shards and orbs in order to add more stars. This increases their survivability, damage, and skills power. And you can increase the level of those passive and active skills. This increases the character's functionality in battles. So for example, a healer will be able to heal better, or someone that spawns in other characters will be able to spawn in tougher characters. And finally, you upgrade their rarity by adding upgrades. This again increases their damage and survivability. All of this is really important to know. Which weapons and armors are best to use? Starting with weapons, this always catches out new players, and it's a complicated, long and boring story that you can absolutely spend your time diving into. You can play around with different numbers and work out yourself which is the ultimate weapons to work on which characters. But if you want the easiest, simplest answer to get started, then just do this. On multi-hit characters like Bellator, give them a gun because it allows them to chain crits together. On single-hit characters like Varro Tagarius, give them a knife because when they do crit, they crit big. And that's the general rule. The only exception is for the Adepta Sororitas characters. Give them a knife because their active faith skill gives them more chance to crit anyway. For armor, it's a little bit less easy. I will tell you what to do, but honestly, you can throw anything onto your characters and the gains are mostly dependent on who's actually attacking your character. However, this is the general rules that I stick by. For characters that can self-heal like the Necrons, I like to give them extra health items as much as possible. This maximizes their effective health, and because they're healing, it'll keep them topped up. For characters that have a lot of innate health themselves, I like to give them as much armor as possible. So Corrodius would be the perfect character as an example of this, as they have the highest health at max stats. Otherwise, for the characters that use block items, I personally like to use the items that have the highest block chance. The simple reason is that I feel it's better to block something than miss your block completely and die. While we are talking about weapons and armor, when should you ascend them? Well, after you've played for a while, you'll eventually bring the level of a weapon or piece of armor up to 9, and this will open a new opportunity to ascend that item. It is important for you to know that unless you're trying to get a specific legendary item, it is never worth ascending an item currently. The reason being that when you ascend an item, you lose all the gold and scrap metal that you put into that item, whereas what you should do is scrap your items when you're done with them, and that gives you all the gold and scrap metal back that you've invested in the game. As you'll get lots and lots of items just from playing, you'll never need to ascend anything until you're very deep into the game. So don't make any mistakes with this, just don't ascend. And now it must be about time to get some free stuff. Already this is quite a lot to remember, so I've built a free Google Sheet planner that many people are already using. It is linked in the comment below, and it helps you to plan your teams, understand roughly how long it'll take to level them, as well as covering many of the more advanced features for later. It's not necessary at all, but it has helped me when I was getting started to sort my head out and remember what I was doing. The reason it's very useful is that even if you're just planning out the leveling of 3 new characters to Silver 1, then that already takes 15 days. When you start to grow your collection, then that is even more complexity to try and remember, so having an easy to use tool there helps massively. I keep it regularly updated at least once a month with all the new character and feature releases, so it's well worth picking up. And in the meantime, if you want to earn some free Blackstone to help you on your way, you can use my Referral Code in-game today to get 100 free Blackstone. Just note, you can only use one Referral Code, so make sure you make the most of it. And let's finish off by looking at the shop and offers in Tacticus. If you are brand new to Tacticus, one of the first decisions you have to make is whether to buy the offer for Commissar Yarrick. And although he is a great character, there's an even better offer being hidden behind him. If you don't accept his offer, shortly afterwards you will be offered Isabella, and she is the best healer in the game currently and will carry you through campaigns, legendary events and much more. Obviously this is something you'll have to pay with real money, but if you're considering sticking with the game or just want to support the developers, then this is one of the best offers in the game. Talking about opening new characters, you have 2 options in the shop to get a chance to do this. At the top of the shop, there is the option to open characters by using requisition scrolls. The option on the left lets you use 1 requisition scroll to get some orbs, character shards, or maybe even a full character. But when you begin, you should always be saving up and picking the right option. This allows you to use 10 requisition scrolls at the same time, and on the 10th pool, you are guaranteed a full character. Just note that is not necessarily a new character that you don't already have, but if you do pull someone that you have had already, then they'll turn into more character shards for that character. Further down in the shop, there are daily deals. These refresh once per day by themselves, but then you can also watch an advert to refresh them over and over. And this is incredibly worth doing, but note, when you begin the game, focus on purchasing upgrades that only cost gold. And don't bother buying items, as you will get enough of them through the game itself. The other thing to note is that every now and again you'll get offers to spend 3,000 Blackstone to buy requisition scrolls. I can easily tell you that this is such a waste of Blackstone, and you would be better using Blackstone to buy energy refills through your day or upgrades with your Blackstone itself. So save your money, don't buy requisition scrolls. There's a little efficiency tip here as well if you're playing a mobile. For the top middle offer, which always has a quantity of 3 to sell, you can move your screen into this position and just spam the exact same place on the screen every time. It means you don't have to keep moving the screen around after every button press, and you can save yourself a few seconds every click. The final point about this is that you should refresh the deals only after you've used 1 daily advert to get another free 50 energy every day. There are only 7 maximum advert refreshes every day, and they go across all game modes. So you want to make sure that you get your free energy before you do your daily deal refreshes. I would personally say that there's 2 more offers that you should be thinking about early, and that's the Blackstone subscription and the monthly battle pass. The subscription costs around $4.99 and gives you 2,000 Blackstone over the month. This is enough to make sure that you can sustain your extra daily 50 energy purchase, so definitely worth considering. The battle pass is more expensive, coming in at $9.99 for the premium option, but it always guarantees you enough shards to open a new character, and this is well worth it if you don't have the character, but it also gives you a lot of extra goodies on top of that. And that's everything for today. That was 15 tips to help you on your way, and I look forward to seeing you out in the battlefield. Enjoy your Tacticus career, and if you need any more help, then definitely check out my beginner guides on my channel.